What's up guys, Mitch here. Wanted to go over a few things with you today. So obviously in front of me here I have a foil. I got the board there and the foil there. So foiling is kind of one of the biggest things that's new, that everyone's loving to do. One of the biggest selling products in our store this year and last. So with that, obviously there's a lot of moving parts with it. So we're here today to show you how to set it up for optimal riding experience at the beginning level, and then we'll kind of go up into the more advanced levels, as well as actually riding the foil itself. So let's get into it. Standard on every foil comes 4 Phillips head screws. Standard P3 screwdriver will do the trick for those, as well as your sliding nut inside. That's what allows the foil mast to be adjusted back and forth. So you're just obviously going to undo these, keep the sliding nut inside of the board for this process. I find that taking it out and having to set it that way is a lot more difficult. So once you take these out, you can mount the base of the foil. Now we have the screws out. Almost just lost one there. And what I do is I slide the bottom 2 sliding nuts all the way to the back, because that's where it's going to be positioned anyways. And then I'll usually slide these up and kind of out of the way, so then I can slide them into place once we're ready to actually mount the front 2. You'll take your foil. I like to keep my wing and mast and all of that connected in storage and on the boat and all that. It makes it easier in my situation. Obviously with the foils, the base plate separates from the mast separates from the wing and the fuselage and all of that. So all of this can come apart. You already know that, but if you didn't, it does. And we're just gonna mount it in here. Sometimes it's easier with a friend, but if you don't have a friend, that's all right. But like I said, you're gonna mount the wing itself and everything as far back as you can. And I'll explain that in a sec once I get this all mounted up. I also like to go diagonal from each other, so I'll put this one in, snug but not too tight yet, and then I'll position it over here and do the one diagonal from it, and that way you're getting an even tighten all the way through. So you're not stripping any screws or anything like that. And if you are to lose any screws or sliding nuts or anything like that, Marine Products does stock those. They are kind of pricey, so try not to lose them. For traveling purposes, I do travel without the mast and base and stuff connected to the board. But when I do get to the lake, I like to mount it all up and then just throw it into a board rack. This will fit in most board racks. Usually wing out in front, board facing the back. It catches less wind that way, but do what you want, stores fairly easily. And yeah, so I mentioned earlier setting up the mast as far back as you could. And for learning purposes, that keeps the nose of the board and basically the whole board down on the water. There isn't as much propulsion out of the wing that's lifting you higher. So putting it all the way back puts a little more of that weight and distribution and all that stuff into the back of the board, keeping it lower and doesn't shoot you up and out of the water as quick. For beginner purposes and all of that, it just makes it a lot easier to learn on, so you're not getting bucked out of the way. As you progress, the nice thing, and this is standard on all foils across the board, not just slingshots, but the track system allows you to adjust as you go. So if you have an intermediate person on there, you can throw it in the middle and you can just scoot up as you go. And a more advanced person is going to want to ride a lot higher with a bigger wing or whatever it is, just to kind of maximize the experience out on the foil, allowing you to pump and get on foil a lot faster, whereas that back position is going to allow you to sit on the water on the board and get the feel of those things before doing anything else. So for learning purposes, as well as sliding the mast all the way back, long lining. So instead of your standard surf rope and surf length and all of that, you're going to take a wakeboard length you're going to take a wakeboard rope and you're going to run the length of that. So 70, 65 feet around there, and learn the foil out there. That way you're away from the boat, you're away from the people in the boat, and you're not in the crazy hecticness of the actual surf wave. You're back on rollers. You can kind of learn how to carve around on a roller, and then as you get more comfortable, you can pull that line in, get a little closer, get deeper into that second roller, and then when you feel really comfortable and you like you've got the hang of things, go to the standard surf length, surf speed, and all that stuff, and do it right behind the boat and have a good time there. Also, as far as speed goes, with that, when you're out at that wakeboard length, you're not going wakeboard speed. You're still going that same surf speed. These plane out at about 4 to 5 miles an hour. So you don't need a lot of speed to get this thing up and out of the water. So that standard surf speed will do just the trick when you're out there as well as when you're right here. Those are the speeds you're gonna wanna ride at and where you're gonna get the most out of your foil. Now that I have this all mounted up, we'll get it unzipped and get it in the water ready for a shred.
So getting up on the foil is very similar to getting up on a wake surfer or a wakeboard. With your heels floating, once you feel the line tension and the rope go, you're going to dig those heels in and it'll pop you right up. Just like I said earlier, the foil planes out at about 4 to 5 miles an hour, so it doesn't take much to get you up. One thing to note, unlike a wake surfer or a wakeboard, you're going to put a lot more weight on that front foot rather than the back foot. This is because putting weight on the front foot keeps the mass and actual foil down in the water, whereas adding pressure to that back foot or more weight to that back foot brings the foil up and out of the water. And for learning purposes, you're going to want to keep that foil down in the water. So once you're up, you're going to want to stay in between the whitewash of the wake and the prop wash. Take this time to figure out what position feels more comfortable for you and begin to add more weight to that back foot, allowing the foil to come up and out of the water. If you want to add a different feel, try going outside of the wash, out into the flats of the lake. This will give you a little more room to practice getting up on foil. While you're out there, start to learn how to pump and maneuver the board while up on foil. Alright, surf lane. So getting up like you would on a traditional surfboard, you're going to have your driver ease into that speed instead of ramming the throttle. Allow yourself to get set up and comfortable before going that full surf speed. Once comfortable, allow yourself to ease into the wave, putting a lot more pressure on that front foot because the foil is going to want to come up and out of the water with the turbulence of the wake. Carve around a bit with the rope in hand until you feel comfortable enough to add a little more pressure to that back foot. Adding pressure to that back foot, like said previously, is going to bring the foil up and out of the water. Once you get comfortable, toss the rope, start to cruise around. Now remember, your movements are key while foiling. Stay calm and relaxed, loose, and remember that you have 1.5 to 3 feet underneath you before making your moves. The foil responds, but it responds a little delayed, so allow your body to get set up and positioned before carving around and making moves. And just like that, you're foiling.
Alright guys, so those are our tips and tricks on riding and setting up the foil to get the best out of it. Hopefully you can get on one this summer. If you have any other questions, come into Marine Products or hit us up on social. And with that, I'm gonna go for another rip.